We don't get too many drum solos. That was kind of nice there at the end. Just get a little, yeah, exactly. Hey, welcome. I'm glad you're here. And if you are new today, let me just tell you that we're excited that you're here, and we're hoping to get free labor out of you today because we're doing something a little bit different. I had a parent ask me earlier, they said, hey, we've got the kids in worship with us. We got some other things going on today. How's this all going to work? And I said, well, I'm going to preach a little bit shorter. And they got this big smile on their face. They got all excited. And I was like, you hurt my feelings. If I had any, that would be a problem. But no, we are doing something a little bit different today because we are not only gathering to worship as the church, we are gathering to live out the mission of the church today. And so our service is a little bit shorter. If you're a guest, this is a little different for us. And so that just means you're going to have to come back next week to see what it's really like. And I hope you'll do that. But today, we are talking about how we can love our neighbors, how we can put something into practice that is just all throughout the scriptures that we're told that this is something we should do, something we should be about. How does it actually happen? How do we do it? And that's what we're going to talk about today. But before I dive in, I think it's wise to just recognize something that all of us over the last several months have asked a lot of questions. We've asked questions about what's been happening. We've asked questions about what it means. And usually what happens when things get a little bit uncertain, when things get a little unclear, we start to kind of ask bigger questions, right? Is my life on the right track? Am I moving in the right direction? And kind of one of my favorite questions is, how do we know what's most important? When everything seems out of control, when things seem different, how do I know what is most important? And I know, for me personally, I've been asking questions, and just to kind of give you a little insight into the church world and being a pastor and all this other stuff, I've also been asking questions for our church. Many of those same questions. Because like I said, when things are uncertain and unclear, we start asking because we're looking for something stable to get a hold of. We're looking for something that makes sense even when all the things I thought or the things I thought I had under control, I don't, or the world around me has shifted in ways I didn't expect. We're always looking for something stable and secure. And so we start asking questions. And one of the questions, or some of the questions that I ask myself and that we ask as a church are just like the questions you're asking. Are we on track? Are we doing the right things? What is most important right now? And kind of where I've been, and I just, like I said, I want to give you this little window. Where I've been is, I've been at this place where I've realized we have met this intersection of need and opportunity. And that's what's staring us in the face right now as a church. And the church is you and I. It's us gathered together. It's not a brand. It's not a name. It's not an institution. It's people. It's you and me. People that are following Jesus together. That's the church. And so as a church, how do we handle this intersection of need and opportunity? And here's the need, which it may be different. It may be different than you're thinking. You might be thinking, oh, the need is we need to become a more moral society, or we need to solve this problem, or we need to move in this direction, or whatever it might be. The need is actually different than that. The need that I've been sensing, and I hope it's a need that you have sensed, but I believe it is true for all of us. I need, our staff needs, our elders need, our volunteers, our leaders, our gathered church family. We all need the same thing. We need a fresh experience of Christ and a conviction to respond to the Holy Spirit's leadership. That's what we need more than anything else, more than a political solution or a social solution or any of the other things going on. What we need more than anything else is a fresh experience of Christ. And if you're not a follower of Jesus, your need is exactly the same as ours. But what does that actually mean? That's an easy thing to say. Oh, we need a fresh experience of Christ. That's what the pastor said. What does that mean? I think it means two things. I think it means that we have to come back to a place where our identity is rooted, again, in something stable, something secure. And how do you root your identity? See, for a lot of us, and I've fallen into this trap sometimes myself, if we're not careful, we'll start to define ourselves by the things that we do and the relationships that we have. For example, somebody, who are you? What are you about? What are you doing? Well, here's my job. And I happen to be a husband or a father, or I'm a wife and a mother, or I'm a friend, or I'm a whatever. And we start to define ourselves. We see ourselves simply as a collection of the things that we do and the relationships that we have. And the reality is, if you're a follower of Jesus, that's actually not the right place to find your identity. Your identity is rooted in Him. And it comes to the point, if you have a fresh experience of Christ, I cannot think about myself and my life and my relationships and my job and the things around me and the world around me. I cannot think of who I am without first starting with who Jesus is. That becomes my identity. Paul talked about this in Colossians 3. He said, in essence, that we have died to our old self, that our life is now hidden with Christ in God. That's who we are. And when we have a fresh experience of Christ, it begins to change the way we see ourselves. And that is exactly what we need. And the good news is we have an opportunity. The other part of this, the other piece of this fresh experience of Christ is a focus. What is your life about? I mean, it goes back to those questions we're asking. Am I on the right track? Is my life moving the direction I want it to? Am I really doing what matters most? What's most important right now? Because again, it's so easy, isn't it, to get off track. My focus is accomplishing this goal. My focus is getting this job. My focus is making enough money to change it. My focus is getting this experience or finally getting to go on vacation or whatever it might be. But when you have a fresh experience of Christ, not only can I not see myself and understand myself outside of who Jesus is, I can't really describe my life outside of who Jesus is either. It's the priority of my life. It is my focus. Before I'm worried about my relationships, and relationships matter, don't get me wrong. Before I'm worried about my family, and your family matters, don't get me wrong. Before I worry about finances or anything else, I can't focus on anything until first I've focused on Jesus. See, that's what it means to have a fresh experience of Christ. Now, somebody asked Jesus this question. They came up to him and they said, Jesus, what's most important? I have a feeling this guy was in a similar situation to us, that for some reason he was scrambling a little bit. He was grasping. He wanted to know, and he felt like, hey, Jesus is a good person to ask. And so if I get a moment with Jesus, if I have an opportunity to ask him a question, I'm going to ask him this. Jesus, what's most important? I mean, out of all the stuff, out of all the things, what is most important? And he answers that question in Matthew 22, and I want to read it to you because this is just an incredible exchange, and you've probably heard it before. But Matthew 22, verse 36 says it this way. A man walked up to Jesus and says, Teacher, which is the greatest commandment? And Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. And the way it says that is like it, it means it's the two sides of the same coin. You can't separate the two. It's not one and then two. It's one and two together. There's not a way to subjugate one to the other. They both are at the same level of importance. It's just like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. And it's almost like Jesus knew that, there could be a yeah, but, right? Because you and I, we hear that and we think, yep, that's true. I've heard that before, and that's a church thing. That's a good thing. We should love God. We should love our neighbor, of course, And we almost want to say, and what else? Or yeah, but, or surely there's more to this. And it's almost like Jesus anticipated that. Because before the guy ever got a chance to say anything else, he said, all the law and prophets, all of it, everything hangs on these two things. In other words, if you're trying to narrow it all down, if you're trying to really make sense of it, if you're trying to get something stable in your life right now, there's two things you need to know. Love God with everything you have. Love your neighbors yourself. If you will do those things, life will start to make sense. You don't have to worry about if you're on track or not. You don't have to ask the question, what's the most important? You don't have to ask, what should I be doing right now? Just do those two things. And as a church, that need, fresh experience of Christ, and that opportunity come together today, and the opportunity to love your neighbor. And so that's what we're doing today, and that's what we're going to have opportunity to break up here in just a moment and go to these different places. This is not just doing good things for good people. This is not just packing some bags for some folks that are having a hard time, although all those things are true. This is us as a church taking seriously what it means to love our neighbors. Because if I'm going to love God with everything I have and I'm going to love my neighbors myself, it's got to show up somewhere, right? It can't just be a good idea. It's got to show up in my everyday life. And Love Your Neighbor Day is a perfect example of that. We're going to love Jesus, and we're going to show the love of Jesus to other people. Now, one of the things that I think can happen when we do this is people around us start to notice, why are you doing these things? So, for example, you may not know this today. You're going to end up having the opportunity to help families in Haiti. You're going to have the opportunity to help senior adults that are struggling. You're going to have the opportunity to help young families and young moms that are trying to figure out what to do with the pregnancy or what to do with their young families. And you're going to have the opportunity to help folks that are homeless on the streets and just kind of trying to figure it out their life day by day. You're going to have an opportunity to do all of those things. And if you were to look at it from the outside, you might wonder, why? Why would you do all that? What is driving that? And it's very simple. We connect with our community because we care deeply. You see, I have this little dream of mine for our church. And I hope that you'll embrace it too. But here's my dream for our church. That everyone in our church that knows and follows Jesus would live their life as a representative of Jesus. And that's easy to say, so here's what it looks like. When you go to the restaurant and you get a waiter that's great or a waiter that's terrible, that's okay, it doesn't matter because you're a representative of Jesus to that waiter. And when you go to the store, if you get a great clerk or an angry clerk or no clerk or whatever, you know what, it's all right because I'm a representative of Jesus. When you go to work where you spend a lot of time and things get heated sometimes, you know what, it's okay because you're a representative of Jesus at work. And maybe most important of all, when you go home and you're with those people that you call family, things go well, things don't always go well, but that's okay because you're a representative of Jesus. You see, this starts to take the idea of love God and love your neighbor and really bring it home. That everywhere we go, every person at Mountain Ridge becomes a representative of Jesus. And here's what I hope we hear eventually. Here's what I hope we hear from people that aren't part of our church. You know what, I don't agree with them, but man, they love people. They seem to care. I mean, I don't believe what they believe. I don't understand why they do what they do. But they actually love. They actually care deeply about us. See, that is beginning to put fine points on the picture, isn't it? Because, again, I'm like you, and some of you are like me. You grew up in church, and you've heard these kinds of things for a long time. That we should love God. Absolutely, we should. We should love our neighbors. Yes, we should. We want to be, good Christians and good people, and we want to do that. This puts it in everyday perspective, doesn't it? Because you're going to leave from here, and you're going to go somewhere after this is over. What if you went as a representative of Jesus? And I know on one hand, that seems kind of intimidating and daunting, doesn't it? To walk in, I'm here to represent Jesus, But what if it was so obvious that you were so different? That maybe they didn't know you represented Jesus, but they knew there was something about you, and the way that you cared and the way that you interacted with people, that if they could put it into words, they would say, you know what? They represent Jesus well. They're a good representative of him. So that is my dream. That is this need and all the craziness that's been going on in our world and what we need, this fresh experience of Christ. And that is the opportunity that we have. And that is why we are doing Love Your Neighbor Day. Now, you're going to hear a phrase, and you're going to hear it over and over for the next few days and weeks and months and even years, because we're going to be talking about it. And hopefully it's today, and it's days like today, and it's moments like today that begin to give this context. Because we're going to be talking about Mountain Ridge to you as the church. We're going to be talking about Mountain Ridge to our community. And the way we're going to say it is this: Mountain Ridge is for you. Mountain Ridge is for you. And that actually works a couple of ways. And so let me just explain that, and then we'll get going here. Mountain Ridge is for you. It means Mountain Ridge has a place for you. That this church exists so that you have a place to belong. We want you here with us. Whether you're a follower of Jesus yet or not, you have a place with us. We are caring about you. We want you to be comfortable. We want you to know that you have a family here that loves you. Mountain Ridge is for you. But also, as a follower of Christ, Mountain Ridge is for you. We are behind you. We are cheering you on. When God puts something on your heart, an idea that you have, people that you want to reach, we are for you. We are with you. We want to do that together because we take seriously this idea of bringing people back to God and making disciples. We know that's who we are and what we're supposed to do. And so when you've got an idea, when you've got an initiative, when you want to love your neighbor, we are for you. We are behind you. We want to help you because Mountain Ridge is for you. And we're going to experience that today as we do Love Your Neighbor Day. So as we pack boxes that are going to go to Haitian families, you know what we're saying? Mountain Ridge is for you. As we pack bags that are going to go to young moms who are pregnant or who have a family or who are trying to figure out their future, you know what we're saying? Mountain Ridge is for you. As we pack water bottles that are going to go to senior adults that feel lonely and abandoned, you know what we're saying? Mountain Ridge is for you. See, that's who we are. And that's who we aspire to be. We aspire to be a church that looks at our neighbors and says, we are for you. We are on your side. We love you. We want to tell you about the love of God, and we want to show you the love of God. And we want to invite you to follow Jesus with us. That's what Love Your Neighbor Day is all about. Now, I'm going to ask Corey to come up and kind of share a little bit with us about what to do next and how this is going to go. But as he's making his way up here, you need to know, our volunteer mission team, Corey, Carrie, Kathy, Johnny have worked hours and hours and hours and tons of time to make today happen. So would you take just a moment and say thank you to them for helping us love our neighbors really well?
And do I have that guy fooled? Just kidding, just kidding. Wow, some of you got that. Hey, as Brett said, we're here for love our neighbor, and we want to do that well. As I told you, that card, you're going to see that there are 4 specific ministries listed on that card that we're partnering with. These are organizations that we have partnered with for years here at Mountain Ridge, and we want to continue to invest in them because we believe they are making a difference. And if you want to know more about those organizations, I encourage you to scan the QR code, because here's the crazy thing. Even when everything hit and life changed for most of us, and maybe it changed a little bit, maybe it changed a lot, these organizations, they still needed to do what they were doing. And they just didn't need to do it at the level they were doing it before. They had to do it even more because the need became greater. And that's the reason we invest. That's the reason that we give. At Mountain Ridge, when we talk about missions, we talk about it from 3 different ways: pray, give, and go. And this is a way that you have been generous at giving by providing a lot of the resources that we're packing, but it's also you getting ready to go by going and packing those boxes. And so just a minute, I'm going to dismiss you to 3 different areas. We did have 4, but the first service, they were just so anxious. They packed all of the homeless kids for Rio Vista. So we're not packing those, but that's okay because there is a ton of shoe boxes that still have to be packed, a ton of water bottles, and layette bags for New Life. So there is plenty of work to do. What's going to happen is I'm going to dismiss you. When you go, you're going to hear a little bit about that ministry, and then you're going to start packing, and then they're going to dismiss you so you can go to another station and go help pack. And that second station you go to, you're there until you guys finish packing. And then when you're done, go have some lunch and talk about it as a family. Maybe pray about it as a family, the bags that you packed. I would encourage you, as you pack bags and boxes and bottles, that you would pray for the people that are going to receive those, because they need our prayers. And even though we don't know who's going to receive it, I promise God does, and He's at work, and He answers our prayers when we go before Him. So I want you to pray, because that shoebox that you think is going to one kid, it's actually probably benefiting a family of 4 or 5 or 6, and they all get to be a part of that shoebox. And the same thing with the layette bag. It's going to more than just the mom. And so I just want to encourage you, pray for those families that are going to be impacted. If you're online, don't worry, I haven't forgot about you, because online you can participate too. There's 2 ways you can participate. You can go to mountainridge.org/loveyourneighbors, and that's a website designed specifically for you where you get to participate and pick which box or bag you want to pack and help be a part of this. And so I encourage you to go, be a part of it. You're just doing it from a digital standpoint, so go ahead and do that. Also, as soon as this live stream ends, a new one will begin, and you'll get to follow me around to see the different stations and all the work that's happening on our campus. So you want to be a part of it, tune in, connect, and be with us as soon as this one ends. Again, I'm so excited for what God's doing. If you want to continue to give and be a part of Mountain Ridge, you can do that when you leave by our offering boxes. You can also do that by going to mountainridge.org/give. Your generosity is helping us to do this, and I say thank you. At this time, what we're going to do, kids, you ready? Yes. Yeah, I like that. He's like, I'm a kid at heart. Are you ready to pack something, kids? All right, so here's what we're going to do. That's right. If you're in this section over here, I want to dismiss you, and you're going to go to the high school room over here, and you're going to start packing some layette bags for New Life. If you're in these 2 sections right here, you're going to go right now, dismiss. You're going to go right into this room right here, and you're going to start packing water bottles. Now, the reason I left you, because you're going to be the biggest force that we have. You're going to go to the front building, the kids' building, go around it to the front door. They have 6 lines of stations that you can go through. Plenty of social distancing. Don't worry about it. You're going to go pack shoe boxes. There's lots of shoe boxes. Kids, I know you're going to see some toys and be like, I want this for Christmas, but you're going to have to wait till Christmas. So I'm going to dismiss you now. You guys go, and you're going to go to the front building and start packing shoe boxes. Again, if you're online, drop off this one, and a new one is about to start.